All right. Welcome to the Viking Age podcast. I'm your host, Adam Patrick. I'm the editor and lead writer for the VikingAge.com. And as always, I'm joined by Chris Schad here for what's writes for us here at the Viking Age, as well as zone coverage and bring me the news. Before we start today's show, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel on YouTube if you are watching. And if you have done that already, we greatly appreciate that. And make sure to follow the Viking Age on Twitter and Facebook. All right, before we get started today on our topics, the Vikings will face the 49ers on Saturday in a preseason matchup inside US Bank Stadium. Now, Chris, in their history, the Vikings and 49ers have faced off in the playoffs 6 times. Of these 6 matchups, do you know how many the Vikings have won?
And the 49ers have played how many, you're saying?
They've played each other 6 times in the playoffs in their history.
Oh, 6 times in the playoffs. I don't think they beat them in 87. I remember that. Yep. So I'm going to say it's 1 because I can't remember any of the others. Yeah.
You are correct. That was the only time the Vikings have beat the 49ers in the playoffs. They upsetted the top-seeded 49ers that year on the road, 36-24 in the divisional round. Unfortunately, stop me if you heard this before, the Vikings' dream came to an end in the NFC Championship the following week when they lost to
Darren Nelson.
17-10 to Washington, who was the eventual Super Bowl champion. That divisional round victory actually was also the last time Minnesota won a playoff game against the 49ers, obviously since it's the only one. And that was also the last season that the Vikings have won more than 2 games or 2 postseason games in a single season. They haven't won more than 1 playoff game since the 1987 season. So that's pretty fun. That's the
God,
year
I love born. This team, right?
That's the year I was born. So pretty much my whole lifetime, the Vikings have never won more than 1 playoff game. All right, getting into our topics. Kirk Cousins is back from his COVID-19 quarantine, and he's pretty fired up. We could say, at the least. This week, the Vikings and 49ers are holding joint practices in Minnesota. There haven't been any brawls like you might have seen from the Panthers and Patriots, but things have been still a little bit chippy. We've heard about Thielen. Thielen's been very feisty this week, like yelling at refs and everything, but we know he can get like that. But the competition has seemed to bring out the fire in multiple Vikings players, including quarterback Kirk Cousins. Now, what you're about to hear is the truth and nothing but the truth, as it was shared by multiple Vikings reporters who were present at practice when this happened. But on Wednesday, after throwing a pass, Kirk Cousins was fired up and he delivered his trademark "you like that" phrase, shouted out, but then he said it again and added a little spice to it. And if there's children nearby, make sure you cover their ears, because he said, "You fucking like that?" I'm not going to lie. This truly shocked me and many people in the Vikings fan base, because I think the most vulgar thing we've heard come out of Kirk's mouth were things like frick and gosh darn it. So this was a surprise to many people on Wednesday. It was pretty shocking. Now, Chris, this may seem silly, but does Kirk's potty mouth actually make him a more likable quarterback?
I gotta level with you here before I get into my answer, because I did not know we could drop F-bombs on this podcast.
Well, so I just did.
I am super excited. I'm not going to do it like out of, so I mean, if a casual one slips, because I've always kind of tried to censor it myself. What was one of the biggest caveats in Mike Sando's quarterback tiers? He wrote that piece for The Athletic. What did one of the coaches say?
It's like he's just a guy.
Now I can't remember the exact words, but he was talking like people don't want to die for him. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
There's not a lot of emotion. There's not a lot of energy behind it. I love this. And really, it's just an F-bomb. I mean, it's not calling a timeout when he's supposed to call a timeout, or lining up under the center on an important 4th down play, or any of those things. But I mean, showing some personality and showing an ownership of this team. one of the things that Arif Hassan wrote about Kirk Cousins in a piece back in February for The Athletic, he said that Kirk has always kind of been a guy who kind of fades in the background. He was 6th on the depth chart when he went to Michigan State. He always deferred to everybody else as it's their team. Like even here, it's like, oh, it's Adam Thielen's team. It's Dalvin. They've been here longer. I want to see Kirk grab this team by the horns and take control. And I mean, if it takes a couple of F-bombs to do so, I love it, because I'll tell you what, the F word is my favorite curse word. There's energy behind it. You can use it in a variety of ways. It's one of George Carlin's 7 words you can't say on television. I fucking love it. So you have opened Pandora's box, by the way.
Boy.
But yeah, I mean, Kirk Cousins dropping F-bombs, that's the type of thing I think a lot of fans want to see. So I think maybe this was just like a one-time thing, because Kirk always has these like random outbursts. Like, I mean, when he shows emotion, it's always like awkward. Like he squeals, like
the Lions game last year.
Yeah, you like that, and like, you know, kind of like riling up Mike Zimmer and everything else. Yeah, I mean, I dig it.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if it makes him more likable, because there's still got a long way to go. But I would say that it probably makes him a little bit more genuine, because we've always kind of viewed Kirk Cousins as more like a robot, and he just kind of like does things by the book 1,000% of the time. But it sounds like, just from this and from other things that we've heard in training camp, that Kirk Cousins has been able to be more himself, with Minnesota's new coaching staff. You know, feel more free, feel like if he makes a mistake on the field, he's not going to be sent to like the woodshed after practice. So, you know, hopefully this allowing Kirk Cousins to be himself more results in a better performance from him and from the entire team this season. But this got me thinking. You know, is this a new Kirk? So I'm giving out a what's more likely. Kirk Cousins walks into the stadium next season before a game, iced out like Joe Burrow, or Cousins gets a 15-yard penalty in a game for taunting next season.
I hate that nickname, by the way. It's so stupid. Joe Burr, Burr, get it? Because he's like cold and he's got like R's in his name. And okay, yeah, whatever. I had to think about this a lot when I saw it on the outline, because I feel like both of them are very like slim chances, like non-zero chance. I could see Kirk getting a 15-yard penalty for taunting, like, you know, spiking the ball and like a player happens to be there. Like it would totally be on accident, right? I could never see Kirk Cousins walking in with a whole bunch of like bling and, you know, like Joe Namath style, like screw Joe Burrow. Like Joe Namath was the original guy walking in with the fur coat and the, you know, jewelry and all that kind of stuff. I was not alive then. I am not dating myself that bad. I just want to throw that out there.
What, Ryan Fitzpatrick a couple of years ago after
Ryan Fitzpatrick, well, he's shirtless in like negative 20 weather. Like he's the man too. Here's why I lean towards this too. So like a couple of years ago, remember when Aaron Rodgers like failed chugging that beer at the Bucks game, and like everybody was like, Stafford slammed a beer like no problem, and everybody was like, yeah, Kirk should do it to show it up. Didn't do it. Like Kirk doesn't like stray from himself. So I think the more accurate representation of himself is like dropping an F-bomb during practice, or like, and then like saying the rosary or something afterwards and whatever. His dad was there. Did you know that? His dad was on the sideline. So like, I don't know if like something happened after practice or whatever.
They got to go confession.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't mean to do it. Like, no.
You kind of mentioned it, but what it just got me thinking. You talked about beer and Aaron Rodgers. What kind of beer do you think Kirk Cousins drinks? Is he like a light beer guy? Is he an IPA guy?
John Moxley drinks the Athletic Brewing beer. Like he's got, so it's like a non-alcoholic beer. And like, because Mox went to rehab and like and he like cracked one open during like a post pay-per-view presser or something, but like
we're freaking out.
And he's like, nah, it's not alcoholic, it's delicious. Like he might do the whole non-alcoholic thing. I think I don't think he I don't
He,
think he drinks too
I bet you he
much.
drinks like a summer shanty or something. It's like it's got a little bit of alcohol in there, but not enough to give him a buzz.
I like a little summer shandy every now and then, though. It's good.
Yeah. I would say the 15-yard penalty is probably more likely, and kind of like you, I could see him where like he's getting a little carried away, and he kind of like accidentally runs into a ref or something, and he's just like, oh no, and then they're like, sorry, Kirk, I got to do it, I got to throw the flag. But yeah, he's not going to pull like a Cam Newton after a touchdown, rip his helmet off, and like dance and be like, I'm back. So no, yeah, but yeah,
Well, he did the gritty.
he tried.
Meaningless week 17 game in Detroit. He
tried.
He made an attempt.
Gritty now in Madden. They didn't really improve a whole lot, but they gave people the gritty, which is that's all they wanted. Sticking with Kirk Cousins, what do you need to see from Kirk Cousins this season to view him differently as a quarterback? Something that would convince you that he's changed in like a good way, in like a more positive direction.
Well, like I said, I want to see him take ownership of the team and kind of the things that he does during a game. Last year we saw Kirk in the whole timeout thing, right? Like, I don't call the timeouts, that's right. Zimmer. And that could have just been Zimmer saying something after Sheldon Richardson called a timeout on a field goal against Cleveland. Like, that could have just paused everything. Yep. I saw a comment on the side, so I'm a little bit I'm like, ooh, I've never seen the comments before. Thank you for contributing. If you got questions, ask them. I do not know how your Niners were. I was not at practice. Big Trey Lance guy,
good.
though.
He wasn't good.
Is that what you heard?
Good today. I don't think he was good today. That's what Arif said, but I think Arif was also trolling some Niners fans because he was getting into it yesterday with them. So
Arif's like the ultimate heel when it comes to NDSU players. Like, he walks in like it's like CM Punk on Long Island wearing the John Tavares Islanders jersey. But no, I want to see Kirk take control of this team. I want to see him take ownership of his decisions on the field and really take a vested interest. I also want to see it control Kirk, because sometimes when he does that, he does it to his own detriment. So I think a lot of people, it's interceptions. It's, he nearly threw 2 that gave away the Green Bay game, right? I want to see a focused Kirk, and I want to see him under control, because I think that's the best opportunity to win. And I think Kevin O'Connell gives him the best chance to be that kind of player.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to see him more under control, but I feel like I would view him differently if he threw more interceptions. It sounds like odd for someone to be like, I hope he throws more interceptions, but to me that would show me that he's no longer afraid to take chances if he makes a mistake. Like we've seen in the past where he throws one interception and the rest of the game he just resorts to checking down the rest of the game, and he doesn't want to mess anything up, and then the Vikings miss out on some potential big plays because Kirk Cousins would rather throw to CJ Ham than chuck it up to Justin Jefferson down the field. So I would actually like to see him throw, I don't want to see him throw 20 interceptions, but like if he throws, 12, because he's been hovering around like the 6 or 7 range the last 2 seasons. So if he throws like 12 or 13, I think that's fine. And I think Kevin O'Connell's also going to be like, that's fine too. Because didn't Matthew Stafford, didn't he lead the league in interceptions last year? But he also threw for like over 40 touchdowns. So I think that made up for it. But yeah, I would like to see him just be more comfortable after making mistakes and kind of, have a quick memory, or like just put that in the back of your mind. You're supposed to a short memory, I guess, because I think you're supposed to have that as a good quarterback.
That's the money quote, though. That's the ethos of Kirk Cousins, because in Washington with Jay Gruden wanted him to be more aggressive. He's like, I can't scheme guys 10 yards open all the time.
Yeah.
And Cousins said, if I throw it when you want me to throw it, I'm going to throw like 20 interceptions. And Jay Gruden said, but you're also going to throw 60 touchdowns. So, that's the kind of thing we got to get away from here. And then that, loss against Notre Dame in college that he referenced in his book, like you and I joked about it. It's like that scene in Step Brothers when Dale is singing, and then, I don't know how far we can go on the potty mouth scale on this show. So I'm just going to keep it clean. But, those guys are chanting something at him, and like he just flashes back every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kirk
yeah.
has an extremely high quarterback rating and no postseason wins. Kirk has an extremely high. None. I don't think
Back then he didn't. He's got a win
Yeah.
now. He beat the Saints
He's
in
got a dub.
2019. But we're switching to another topic, but it's still Kirk Cousins related because he was kind of disrespected this week by someone who used to play in the NFL. So former NFL running back and current NFL Network analyst Maurice Jones-Drew, formerly of the Jaguars and Raiders. He recently released his list of the top 10 quarterback and wide receiver duos in the league heading into next season. Most of his selections are fine. But he surprisingly decided to leave Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson off of his list. So here's who Jones-Drew picked for this list. At number 1, he's got Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. That's fine. At number 2, he's got Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs. Number 3, he's got Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp. Number 4, he's got Derek Carr and Devontae Adams. Never played with each other, but they're number 4. At number 5, he's got Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Number 6, he's got Tom Brady and Mike Evans. Number 7, got Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. At number 8, he's got what's Herbert's name?
Justin Herbert and
Justin Herbert.
Keenan Allen.
Wow, Justin Herbert.
I did that last show. You always got to put the first names on these things because you'll know them as you're writing it, but then when you see it during the show, you're just like, Khalil Herbert. No, that's not it.
Number 8, Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen. At number 9, Dak Prescott and no. At number 9, wow, Kyler
You're
Murray.
shook.
Yeah, I am.
Kyler like
Murray
Kirk in the 4th.
and DeAndre Hopkins, who was suspended for the first 6 games of this season. And number 10, the wonderful Jameis Winston and Michael Thomas, who hasn't played in 2 seasons. So, of these 10 duos, which duo should Cousins and Jefferson replace? And then, how high should they be on this list?
So the 2 that don't belong here to me are Derek Carr and Devontae Adams because they have played together, but never in the NFL. That was at Fresno State, and that was 9 years ago. And we don't know how that's going to work. No. So even if Devontae Adams is like, this guy is a Hall of Famer. Well, Tyreek Hill thinks Tua Tagovailoa is a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. So apparently.
Yeah.
So I mean, they got to go. And then Jameis and Michael Thomas, like
that's hilarious.
I know Michael Thomas is a good receiver. Like that's fine. Jameis has put up a 5,000-yard season before, but they haven't played together. They barely play together because I
don't even know if they have just practiced.
Yeah, I think just practice because Thomas didn't play all last year when he was a starter. So yeah,
he didn't play at all last year. And when you mentioned that 5,000-yard season from Winston, he also threw 30 interceptions that year. So I wouldn't even
That's what we want from Kirk, don't we?
No, I don't want 30.
30's a little high.
Yeah. So where would you put Cousins and Jefferson on this list, though?
I put them 5th.
Okay.
And some Viking fans might think that's disrespect, but I think it's respect for the other names on this list because Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, they probably have the statistical numbers to match up when it comes to per season, because we're only talking about like 1 season since Justin Jefferson came in. But I mean, those guys have such a rapport. They were awesome at LSU. It's more recent than Adams and Carr. So, and we have a season of NFL proof to show that they're very good. Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. I mean, basically Josh Allen drops back and goes, where's Stephon Diggs? The first time every play. So, I mean, that's huge. Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp. That's a very good connection as well. Stafford got traded to the Rams, called Cooper Kupp right away, said, hey, let's start working out. Let's start throwing. And it panned out in the Super Bowl. We saw that. And then I got to put Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce 4th. Look at that last drive against Buffalo, the one in regulation that tied things up. Those 2 are just on the same page. They know what they're doing. Very good. I think Cousins and Jefferson are right behind that. They've outproduced everybody else on the list for the most part. I think Brady and Evans have more touchdowns, but I mean, Cousins, when he wants to throw it to Justin Jefferson, he's going to go up and get the ball. And I think in this new offense, we're going to see that connection get even stronger. And I think they got a chance to raise up this list as the season goes along.
Yeah, of all like the highlights that are posted, or the secret video that's posted from practice recently, I feel like probably 80% of them are cousins to Jefferson. So it just feels like he's just gonna be on fire this year. Yeah, I would replace Jameis Winston, Michael Thomas. Cousins better quarterback than Winston. Michael Thomas hasn't played football in 2 years. Even if he does play, I think Justin Jefferson is a much better receiver than him, anyways. As for how high they should be on the list, I kind of put them a little lower than you. I would put them at 7, um,
The
behind
disrespect. You're going to get
behind
trashed on Twitter, man.
behind. I guess I could put him at 6 because I wouldn't. Yeah, like you, I wouldn't have Carr and Adams ranked that high. So I guess I would put them at 6, but behind Brady and Mike Evans, just because like I can't. Just Tom Brady's just so good. I can't help it. Like he's 44 and he's leading the league in touchdowns. But definitely ahead of Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. You can argue Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott, who's better for a long time, but Justin Jefferson is definitely way better than CeeDee Lamb. It's not even close. But yeah, so looking at this duo of Cousins and Jefferson, who do you think owes the other more for their success during the last 2 seasons?
Who gets the bigger fruit basket?
Yeah.
Just wake up on Christmas morning. There's a fruit basket. That wouldn't work in Minnesota, though. It'd probably be frozen and everything would be yucky. I would say Jefferson, but somebody has to get him the ball right. Like, this is not, I don't think this is a situation where the wide receiver is so good that he can make anybody else look good. Like, if you take away Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins is still a good quarterback. He was good with Stephon Diggs, right? And he also has Adam Thielen and a whole bunch of other weapons. So I don't think that's this case. But I mean, Jefferson just has a track record of production. You go back to LSU and that monster final season with Joe Burrow. I think they help each other out. I think they're just like a very well-oiled tag team. You mentioned Madden. I am tempted to do a Bengals franchise and get Justin Jefferson on the Bengals. Or maybe I just switch it around, go get Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and put them on the Vikings.
Yes.
I didn't think of that part. But I mean, the Vikings
got
don't have the cap space, though. It'll be harder. Like
Joe Burrow's on his rookie contract, right? He's still got like a year.
True. Yeah, you dump a whole bunch of salary there.
Jamar Chase is on his rookie contract. See, simple.
Let's do it.
You already got Ed Ingram, Daniel Hunter, Patrick Peterson on the Vikings. Just add some more LSU guys. I think, yeah, it's close. I think you can argue each way, but I think if you had to pick one, I would say that Cousins has benefited more from Jefferson being on the roster. If you just look at the numbers, the last 2 seasons, Cousins' first 2 seasons without Jefferson, he averaged about 3,900 passing yards and 28 touchdowns. In his last 2 seasons with Jefferson, he's averaged over 4,200 yards and 34 passing touchdowns. So that's just like a 7% increase in passing yards, but that's a 20% increase in touchdowns. Now that could be scheme related and all that fun stuff, but I think Jefferson has definitely helped Kirk Cousins kind of get to another level the last 2 years. It hasn't produced a playoff appearance, but I think you can go back and kind of look at guys like Case Keenum when he was doing so well here with the Vikings, and his success was likely had a lot to do with Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. And I'm not saying that Cousins' success is likely a lot due to Jefferson, but he's definitely benefited, I think, more than Jefferson has from Cousins. And yeah, Jefferson's not going to put up these numbers if he has like Sean Mannion or Joe Flacco or somebody back there. But if he has, a satisfactory guy back there who can just like, do you think Justin Jefferson could put up the numbers that he's been putting up if he had someone like, let's say, Jared Goff?
I think not these numbers.
No. Okay.
No, not these numbers. I think he'd put up numbers. I think he could get open enough. Like Jared Goff, remember, he had a big season in LA.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he's capable.
The right offense. I think maybe it was this offense, maybe.
If Sean McVay was the head coach of the Lions, but don't. I'm a Dan Campbell stan. So
yeah, I still gotta watch. I gotta watch episode 2. I haven't.
Me too.
Catch up with that. I started the Manti Te'o documentary last night. And
I've heard that's awesome.
there's two parts, and the first part's a little bit of a snoozer because they tell you like every detail of like his college life, and I'm like, I don't want to know this stuff. I want to find out what everyone else finds out, and then what happens after that. But yeah, it's still pretty interesting. But no, I'll watch the rest of that later. All right, Saturday, the Vikings have a preseason game in U.S. Bank Stadium. Their only preseason game of the year in U.S. Bank Stadium. It's set to kick off at 6:00 p.m. Central. It's against the Niners, who are the team that they're having joint practices with this week. And according to WinBet, the Vikings are currently favored by 5 points. I don't know how they determined this in the preseason, but they're favored by 5, and the over-under is currently set at 39 points. Unfortunately, this game will not be on NFL Network or ESPN or Fox or any of that. It will only be broadcast locally on Fox 9. So if you are out of the market, you'll have to get some DirecTV or whatever package to, or NFL Plus. I guess you can do that now, right? If you're out of the market, you can watch them. So looking at this game, Chris, similar to what we did last week with the Raiders preseason game, which offensive players will you be keeping an eye on?
I feel like they're the same from last week.
Okay.
Because, I mean, nothing has really changed. I'm looking at Kellen Mond, seeing if he can take a step forward after, I mean, it was pretty good. He had that one throw that JT O'Sullivan just blasted for about 5 minutes on his punt, and rightfully so. It looked like it was a very clear lane to throw through. But I want to see him look more composed when a higher level of players are in the game. And I don't know. I don't want to see a split. I don't want to see it down to the exact snap like Kevin O'Connell did the other day. I want to see Kellen Mond get some run and make some plays. Ty Chandler, Kene Nwangwu was last week a mirage. I want to see that. And I also want to see the offensive line. Hopefully they bring out the starters, but not for too long, maybe like a series or two again, just kind of see how they're gelling. And especially with the new starting right guard, I kind of want to see how that's going.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how Ed Ingram does. He had a good game last week per PFF and all that fun stuff, and he's been taking first team reps this week, so it seems like he's on track to be the starting right guard, barring injury. We'll be watching him. I'd like to see what if Jalen Naylor can do anything, because we didn't really hear a whole lot from him last week. I think he returned a kick or a punt, and that's kind of about it. Tristan Jackson had a pretty good game last week. I'd like to see if he can keep that up. Ty Chandler, like you mentioned. And Kellen Mond, definitely. I would like to see him start on Saturday. I would like to see him have a opportunity in a 2-minute situation, at least one. Because I think the drive where they did really well, where they went 75 yards, I think that was no huddle. A lot of it was. So, and they did well with that. So I like to see that. And I really don't want to see any of Sean Mannion, because I don't need to see anything more from Sean Mannion. I keep reading. I think I read something from Albert Breer today about how Sean Mannion he's still valuable to have because he just knows this offense. Then make him a coach. Make him a coach. He doesn't need to be a player. Like I hate that argument that like he knows this offense. He was with the Rams from 2017 to 2019. Okay, then make him a coach. He doesn't need to be a quarterback because he can't play quarterback. So we're not. This isn't playing who knows the offense the best, because if that was how it went, there'd be a lot different quarterbacks on the field. But you actually have to play well too. And
they don't have a whiteboard at the middle of the field and be like, all right, here's the bonus round. Send out your best whiteboard guy.
Yeah, we never
Whitehurst
see
against Sean Mannion.
What's the Wonderlic test? Like the guys that always score the highest on there, they never do well in the NFL because they can't play. Like,
what did Ryan Fitzpatrick get?
Well, he did. He went to Harvard. Okay.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying. Like, I'm not saying
he did well.
Like the norm, but
he did. No, he did well. But he's an example of someone who did well and kind of played well in the NFL. Like, he had a long career, but no one's going to be like, oh, he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Most of the guys who are, I think they'd probably get average on that test. If you get average, you're usually a pretty good player. If you get too high or too low, then it's usually probably not a good sign. But yeah, like you got to play too, and that just isn't the case with Sean Mannion. Which defensive players will you be keeping an eye on? Similar
I'm
to
looking
last
at
week.
Patrick Jones the
Yeah,
second.
yeah.
He looked really good. I looked at his stats for my 3 bold predictions, which will come out tomorrow at the Viking age. He had 4 pressures on 16 pass rushing snaps, which if you put DJ Wanham by comparison, he had 1 pressure on 18 pass rushing snaps. And I think that was a product of Patrick Jones getting pressure first. I'm also looking at the entire secondary because they committed 4 of the 8 penalties last week, according to Pro Football Focus. And if you include Andrew Booth's double
2.
penalty,
Yeah,
that kind of, inflates things a little bit. If the 49ers bring out their starters, I mean, I think that could get kind of ugly, even if Trey Lance struggled a little bit today, reportedly. But I think that I think that the secondary needs to step up a little bit, and I need to see some players make some plays because it did not go well. Chris Boyd was the highest graded corner, and that spells trouble, really, if you put things together.
hang the banner, Chris Boyd. You were the highest graded player in the secondary in the
I'm
preseason
sure
game.
he has.
I'm sure he has. Sure he has. Yeah, secondary to Andrew Booth, Lewis Seen. I think there wasn't really anything bad from Lewis Seen in the first preseason game, but there wasn't really a whole lot that stood out either. And that could just be the case because you're still kind of adjusting to the flow of the NFL and learning the system still. I'd like to see more from Brian Asamoah. He had some good moments last week, but he also had some rookie moments as well. Like you, I want to see Patrick Jones the second because I feel like he could be, really good for the Vikings this year as a situational pass rusher just to throw things off. And then Jalen Twyman, everyone was kind of really excited that he was just playing last week because he hasn't played in so long, and I'd like to kind of get past that and actually see him make some plays, make a difference. And maybe he did last week, but it wasn't very noticeable. So those are some of the guys I'd like to watch on the defensive side of the ball. Let's see. Which players who got snaps last week would you like to see on the bench this weekend to preserve their health for the regular season?
So this is going to sound a little bit weird. I'm thinking Ed Ingram because I know he's the starting right guard. I figure he could use the reps, but have you seen what's behind him? Devon Kinlaw put Jesse Davis into the ground during last week's practice. And, I just don't trust anybody else to play guard right now. So, I mean, if you want to get the starters a series or 2, I'm all for it, but get them out there as soon as possible because we don't need Ingram getting nicked or anything like that. I think he's going to be a very critical part of the offensive line, and you got to protect him at all cost.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Ingram out there, but at the same time, I wouldn't mind if he's not out there just because, it's preseason. He's not going to get that much better if he gets a couple reps against a Niners team that he's been facing all week. Anyways, I don't think I need to see anything from Brian O'Neill, Christian Darrisaw, Harrison Phillips, or Delvin Tomlinson, especially those defensive guys. We already know what they're capable of. They played a little bit last week and showed that they're going to be fine. So we don't need to see them out there to get hurt because those guys in the trenches feel like those are guys that usually get hurt a lot in the preseason because they're going all out and getting run over. We've seen what the Browns already lose 2 centers. Same thing with like the Bucks. So, hey, Kevin Stefanski, if you need a center, I know a guy. They got other things to deal with.
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't like. People are like, oh, Christian Darrisaw, he's in his second year. He's a young guy. Give him some reps. I'm like, no, because if he's down, what? Ali Udo's out there at left tackle. So let's not do that.
Anywhere where there's no depth, there's no sense in playing them.
No.
Even if they're young, I'm not doing it.
Like I think Alexander Madison should play. He didn't really have a good game last week. Also, it's preseason. Who cares? But it sounds like he needs to. Sounds like he's not really fitting in well with the system that they're running, and kind of probably needs to some more adjusting. So I'd still like to see someone like Alexander Madison out there. Are there any players who sat last week that you would like to see on the field. I'll just name them off to you quickly. Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Danielle Hunter, Zadarius Smith, Patrick Peterson, Eric Kendricks, or Harrison Smith.
Nope.
No.
That's my analysis. Nope.
Yeah.
Put him in bubble wrap, give him a Gatorade, and let him warm up.
No reason. No reason.
All right, thanks, guys. Good.
Any of those guys need to be on the field. I'm sure Kirk Cousins would love to be on the field and get some reps against Kyle Shanahan. But no,
the apple of his eye.
He doesn't need to be on the field. He's been having a really good training camp. He's having some good practices this week. He does not need to be on the field. And because like the Niners, they're not known for having like a bad defense. Their depth guys are probably really good too. So it's not like they're going to hold back and not go after Kirk Cousins. And he's probably going to he would have some like second team offensive line guys in front of him. No, they'd probably play the first team if Cousins was out there. But yeah, no, we don't need to see any of these guys. They're good. Last question. Did you see the return of Kenny Omega last night?
I did.
Is he still hurt? He's still got a thing on his shoulder. What's going on with that?
He's probably just still a little banged up. He had a lot of surgeries, it sounded like, because once that Full Gear match happened, I mean, the rumor was he hung on because he wanted to finish the storyline with Adam Page, and it was just kind of a respect thing. Awesome main event. I was there for his last match at Full Gear 2021, where Hangman Adam Page won at Target Center. It was in Target Center. Yep. Oh. It was an awesome show. Probably one of the best I've ever been to. But people people find joy out of things. And I was thinking maybe Kenny Omega would show up last week when they were in Minneapolis.
Right.
Or, when the Young Bucks were getting jumped by the Undisputed, whatever they're called now.
Era?
That's the WWE Elite or whatever. The Undisputed. Okay, maybe they'll just go Undisputed. That would be
They're just the
good way to do it. Yeah. I kind of surprised it took that long, but it's good to see Kenny back. He's fun to watch in the ring. So
they did it interesting too. Like they did like a whole intro for him and everything. Would you rather have that or like him just like kind of run in or just have his music hit? Because I think I kind of like it better when they're like, who is it? And then the music just turns on. And then you're like, oh shit.
Well, that was the best part. So like back in the day, in the 90s and like late 2000s, like when Stone Cold Steve Austin's Glass hit, you knew like things were going to get real. Even last week with CM Punk returning, you heard like the static thing and everybody lost their minds. I kind of would have liked it if, Kenny Omega, and I mean, that's his thing. He gets the long intro and everybody knew once he started going through the whole list of everything, it was going to be Kenny. But I like that whole, somebody's in trouble and then the big hits and they're like, oh my God. Or like, somebody's like open challenges. That's like, or like WrestleMania, like Seth Rollins coming out and like, who's his opponent? And then Cody Rhodes shows up. Like those are always really like when Cody Rhodes enters the 2023 Royal Rumble and wins it.
My favorite. I think my favorite of that is always the Hardys at WrestleMania. That was just ridiculous. Even though a lot of people knew it was coming, it was still just like everyone's like, "Oh man!"
Edge.
That pop was huge. Edge too, yeah.
Edge at the Royal Rumble in 2020. That was
because no one saw that coming.
Yeah, I screamed in my living room.
All right, so the Vikings play on Saturday. Hopefully they looked good actually last week in their preseason game. Like didn't have any injuries. Let's hope no injuries on this weekend either. I will have the day off, so I won't even probably watch until Sunday. I'll probably see what's going on though. But yeah, until Monday, we'll talk about the game on Monday and kind of look ahead. They'll only have one preseason game left after that. We're getting closer to the season. So if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to this channel, like this video. And make sure to follow the Viking Age on Twitter and Facebook. But until next time, Chris and I talk to you later.